Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. And today I've got a comparison for the ages. This is a battle for my heart and mind. And this is a tough comparison to do. I love both of these knives. They would both be on my very short list of favorites. I've wanted an Evo Typhoon for a number of years. I've been a fan of Brian Nadeau for even longer. I had, a while back, he did a mid-tech mini Typhoon, which I owned and enjoyed. It was just a little small for me, but I loved the design. So I've been a fan of Brian, and I've been a fan of the Typhoon for a long time. Um, that said, I've also been a fan of the Reate Torrent for a long time. How many videos have you seen me make where I talk about the fact that this is sort of my standard for high-end production knives? Like, it's just really, really well done, and it has been in my collection for a long time. I never plan on getting rid of it, by the way, um, but I don't plan on getting rid of this either. So as soon as I got this, as soon as I started kind of playing around with it, they're both built by Reate. I knew that I had to make this video. And so, honestly, guys, I don't really know what to pick. There are various things that kind of draw me back and forth in terms of which of these I like the most. So all we can do is kind of get into it and compare them. I will say this one point here, and this may, this is going to make a big difference for many of you who are watching. The Evo Typhoons are hard to get. You're going to be looking on the secondary. Brian, I don't know if there's a plan to do another run of them. He certainly hasn't talked about it. Um, the Torrents are a little easier to come by. They've done a number of runs of them. You can find them on the secondary market fairly readily. So, I mean, you can find some Evo Typhoons on the secondary market, and probably if you look right now, there'll be a few people who got in on this order, realized they've overspent, and now they're trying to sell. Don't pay more than retail, though. Don't get into that whole markup for limited availability. Because I think if you hold on long enough, maybe message Brian about it, maybe they'll do another run of Evo Typhoons. I don't know. So I've said a lot already, and we're not even into the full side-by-side comparison yet. Let's start off with size and weight. Both of these are very similar. We've got 8.5 inches, 8.5 inches, 8 7/16, so like a 1/16 of an inch difference. 3 5/8 on the blade, 3 3/4 on the blade. Again, an 1/8 of an inch difference. 4 15/16 closed, so almost 5 inches when closed. This guy's going to be 4 11/16. So the blade to handle ratio is a little better on the Evo Typhoon, and you're going to be carrying a slightly smaller, it's going to take up less pocket real estate. Okay, so that's obvious, and that could be a big factor for some people. Moving over to grip area, that is, how much space have we got for our fat little fingers in here? You can see right away that the Typhoon has more, 3 3/4 inches here on the Torrent, and down here 4 1/4 inches of grip area. Finally, the weight. The Reate Torrent is a pretty beefy knife. It looks beefy, and it is 5.9 ounces, 4.2 ounces on the Typhoon. So in terms of size, weight, and carry, the Typhoon is the pretty clear winner. It still offers virtually all of the utility and cutting power and stuff like that you're going to get out of the Torrent. However, I must say this: if you're one of those people who likes a heavier built knife, then the argument could be made that the extra weight comes from the fact that this is heavier construction, and I think it is slightly heavier construction. Now we're talking about folding knives here, so that kind of becomes a bit of a moot point, but I want it to be fair. All right, so from this particular standpoint, in terms of how easy this is to carry versus what you're getting out of that space being taken up in your pocket, the Typhoon is a pretty clear winner in terms of blade and size and weight and how comfortable it is for what you're getting. So first category, size and weight and how easy it is to carry, the Typhoon takes the cake. Moving over to the blade, this is a little bit tougher. All right, we've got M390 on both. Flat ground harpoon here. We got a compound grind sort of harpoon tanto thing going on with the Evo Typhoon. Both very attractive blades. They both do some interesting things here. let's just say this though. If you just look at these two and you're appreciating them from an artistic standpoint, the blade grind on the Typhoon is absolutely stunning. It's a beautiful, beautiful blade. The other thing that the Typhoon has going for it is the compound grind. So a hollow grind here where you're going to do a lot of your cutting is so utilitarian. It works really, really well. And then you don't sacrifice anything in terms of toughness, because the tip where, you could potentially have problems is flat ground, adding quite a bit more material. Um, so from that regard, for all of those reasons, I think the Typhoon is the pretty clear winner. The materials are basically the same. Some there I like the Reate blades still quite a bit, but the fact is, I think either subjectively or objectively, in both cases, you've got to give the win in terms of the blade looks and performance to the Evo Typhoon. Moving over to action or lockup and deployment, or however you want to refer to this particular characteristic, we have, of course, two titanium frame locks here. Both of them, have similar functioning. Okay, we've got a flipper tab here, we've got a flipper tab here. The detent is different on these. Both of them are quite enjoyable, but I think I've said this before when I've had other Brian Nadeau stuff. His proprietary detent system works really well, but it feels just a little bit different than what you're used to with a typical ceramic ball detent, like what you're dealing with on the Reate. The other things that I want to point out here are, here on the Torrent, we've got an internal, we've got the stop pin back here. It's a fairly small stop pin. Well, we've got these giant lugs on the Torrent, which are going to be very tough, very durable, and they're going to add that sort of triangular dimension when it comes to how stiff the blade is when opened. Okay, and that's something that I think is worth considering, as well as the fact that the Torrent has dual row ceramic bearings, while the Typhoon is just single row ceramic bearings. Are these things, really, really different to where, you go, this knife should be thrown in the garbage or something? No, absolutely not. But for me, I do think the dual row ceramic bearings are really, really welcome. The large lugs adding that toughness and durability are, again, very, very welcome, and features that I like to see on titanium frame locks. All right, with the Nadeau, you're getting that proprietary system, which is definitely cool. But all in all, when I think of the action and the quality and what's involved in putting these two knives together, I've got to give the lockup and deployment points to the Reate Torrent. Now let's switch over to the handle. Again, both of these have a lot in common, and there are things about each that kind of draw me back and forth. On the Typhoon, I just love this micarta. It looks and feels fantastic. The little details, such as the proprietary decorative pivot here, the bolster lock, and the way this cutout is done, which is, this is a Brian Nadeau type of thing. The pocket clip, again, similar, it's artistic, it's interesting, it's cool. These things all draw me to the Torrent. Draw me to the Typhoon, while at the same time I look at the Torrent and I just love the clean simplicity of it. I love the slight pop of color with the blue and the holes at the back. I love the ceramic ball pocket clip. That's one of my favorite ways to do that. So there are things on both of these knives that really draw me in. The way they've done the relief cut here is another feature that I really, really like. They've left a little ledge for some extra strength and extra stability, which is very, very significant to me. You can't really see what's going on under here. It's just a different approach, okay? So I think we've touched on a number of the important details, all of which I find extremely appealing, okay? And so which one am I going to pick in terms of the overall handle sort of design and the features and that kind of thing? From that perspective, I think it's going to be a tie, all right? So I can't really say that I love one way, way more than the other. From a design standpoint, I think I like the Typhoon just a little bit more. The subjective nature of that, I'm aware of that though. However, ergonomics is a different discussion, and the ergonomics, it's pretty clear. As soon as you pick up the Torrent and feel it in hand, you definitely can notice a difference. The Wow, I called it the Torrent. I meant the Typhoon. The Typhoon is just a little more rounded and feels just a little more natural in hand than the Torrent. The Torrent still feels good. I still like it, but the Typhoon is just a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more natural. So the Typhoon gets the win on that. Now, at the end of the day, right, if you, as I've said many times in many videos before, if you held a gun to my head and said, you know, you must pick one of these knives, it would be actually a pretty easy choice. And I would be picking the Typhoon. Why? Because of limited availability, because I love Brian Nadeau's work, and this allows me to own something that's really high end, that's really well done. I'm not going to own a Brian Nadeau custom. It's just not my bag. I'm not a custom knife guy. So something like this is how I can sort of scratch that itch. And giving it up at this point would be crazy because they're hard to get, they're hard to come by. I could potentially get rid of the Torrent and 2 years from now, spend some time searching around the internet and get another one. So it's a little less stingy getting rid of something that's more widely available like that. Okay, so that's my pick. I would love to know how you guys feel down in the comments below. Which one would you go with? And I will say the biggest, most compelling things to me are the extra toughness and durability that I would get from the Torrent. It is a knife designed to be just a little hardier than the Typhoon. And I love that. And it's really, it's killing me to sort of make a choice between these two. The fact is, I don't plan to get rid of either one of them. I think they're both fantastic. And if you have either one of these, you're very lucky, but you are a little luckier if you've got an Evo Typhoon because there are not that many of them out there. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will put a link down in the description box to DLT Trading. If you use that link and pick something up over there, that does help the channel a lot. Obviously, if they don't have good prices, don't buy that stuff there. But for higher end stuff like this, they tend to have a good selection and do a pretty good job with that. So there you go. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll talk to you soon.